offensive takedowns and finishes. We've tried to concentrate on the offensive takedowns and finishes that occur at all age levels and are most effective. Keep in mind as you watch the video that if one of the finishes doesn't work, you immediately go to the second one. We've tried to create a situation where you have 3 finishes in a row, one setting up the other. As we start our takedown technique, there's 3 important principles that I want you to think about and watch as we go through this technique. First of all, I want to talk about the control points. And when I talk about control points, I'm talking about anytime I get a hold of a wrist or an elbow or a head, whatever it is that I make contact with my opponent, that's the control point. And there's only 4 ways to take that control point. I can take it down, I can take it to the outside, I can take it over the top of my head, or I can take it across my body. The second principle I want to talk about is where to step. When you have your opponent, there's only 5 places that I can step on my opponent. If I have my opponent here, I want to step to the outside 2 or 3 inches, to the inside 2 or 3 inches. I step to right between his legs, and I can step to the inside of this foot, right here 2 or 3 inches, or to the outside 2 or 3 inches. Now when I do that by stepping with the outside foot, I can step with the inside foot, I can step between the legs, I can step here, or I can step here. I want to go toe to toe. I don't want to go too deep, and I don't want to go too shallow. So as you watch the technique, I want you to watch the control points, I want you to watch where to step, and the third principle I want to talk about is a half-man theory, where we're talking about creating an angle on our opponent. Anytime I have my opponent here, before I attack him, I'm going to get what we call a half-man theory, where I put his leg right between my leg. I don't want to be square to him here because we're equal. Before I attack, I'm going to either, and there's 2 ways of doing this, I'm going to step here and here to create a half-man theory to attack this leg. Keep in mind, anytime I've created this angle, I've also put him in the same situation in a half-man theory. The second thing to think about, when I take a control point, for example, clearing this across here, when I take this control point this time across my body, I'm going to put this guy in a half-man to me, here. When I've done that, I've now put him half-man to me, right here. I'm going to take the control point this time across my body, and as I do that, now I've put his leg halfway between here, and it allows me to step to one of the 5 positions. In this case, I'd step right between the legs. The first technique we're going to work today is a double leg, and we're going to work it in a high-level situation. We're going to work the double leg with 3 different finishes and why we would go to each of those 3 finishes. Before I start this, I want you to keep in mind there's several different setups, several different ways to get into the situation where you take the double leg, but we're just going to go over one of these right now. I'm going to walk to my opponent. When he posts a hand, I'm going to be real disciplined. When I walk to him, he'll try to stop me with one of his hands. When he does that, that's the first principle I want to be able to talk about, the control point. So as I walk to him, hand comes to me, I'm immediately going to clear this hand off, my control point, right here. I'm going to shuck it off here. At the same time, I'm taking a little step here. Now I've created an angle, my half man, and now I'm going to penetrate to a high-level double leg here, in this position. My hands go right behind the knees here. From this position, I've stepped right between the legs, one of the 5 stepping points. From here, now I'm just going to continue to tackle and drive. Here. We'll take my opponent down. So the first technique, high-level double leg with a finish. I'm going to walk to my opponent. He's going to post this time. I'm going to clear a control point across my body, take a half man to the outside, pound, step, from here, high-level tackle. I'm going to let go of this because once I've crossed this across my body, my head has now blocked it off and he can't get it back. My hands go right behind the knees. I've stepped right between the legs, high-level, double leg, tackle. Now, as I hit, and we'll do one more and do it faster, I'm going to post so I don't get rolled through. I walk to him. He's going to post me off. When he does, I control it off. Step. Tackle. That position.
From wrist control, David Zuniga fakes an arm drag and drop steps to this double leg. Notice the control he has as his trail leg comes up and he drives his opponent straight through to the mat. From a non-contact position, Kevin Jackson taps his opponent's head, then his shoulder, and his opponent comes back in. He penetrates under for the double, driving him straight to the mat. From the non-contact position, Kerry Kurlat penetrates straight through his opponent to take him to the mat. Here's another example with Olympic and world champion Young Soon Park of Korea.
The second situation that occurs off a high levels double leg is when he reacts to me and gets his hips back a little bit and doesn't go down. I'll still hit the same double leg, but he'll get his legs back a little bit, so I won't be able to get the tackle. I walk, he touches, clear it off, created my half man, step. When I hit this time, he's backing up. I immediately follow my hips up. I can't allow any room in here. So now this leg's done all it's going to do. It comes up, 90 degree, make the L. Now I'm going to flare my opponent down. Here. This time I walk, control point across my body, put my opponent half man, step, but this time he flares. I drive, post on the outside, lock the knee. Now I'm going to flare my opponent. Here.
Here's a good example of this flare finish for the double with Barry Davis. Here's another good example with John Fisher. Even though the ref is in the way part of the time here, pay close attention. It is a good example.
The last takedown we're going to do on a high level double leg or the last finish, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to clear the control point, step between the legs, try to tackle him, but to get his legs back. The second thing, I'm going to try to flare, but he's going to get his leg way out and not allow me to get the flare. And that'll open up the third finish for a high level double leg, which is running the pipe. He's going to post, I'm going to come to this position right here, and I'm going to try to knock him down here. But as he doesn't go, I'm going to come up, because my leg comes up quick. I'm trying to make an L with this leg. This leg right here gets out away from me, here. And I can't flare it. That allows me, position here where I've hooked, to just back step and set my opponent down. So 1, I try to tackle. 2, I try to flare. If I can't get one of those 2, that means I'll be able to run the pipe. Again, cross, hit, try to flare, can't do it, run the pipe. Right? We'll do it with the other arm this time. I walk, hit, try to flare, can't do it. I'm going to back step, set my opponent down. Let me show you what happens if I clear a high level and I try to run the pipe too soon, and he doesn't get a wide base. I walk, clear, here. If I immediately try to run the pipe without this leg being wide, he'll just hop with me in this position. But it makes it very easy for me to flare.
As Barry Davis starts to run the pipe on this double leg finish, his opponent tries an over-under throw to counter. Barry posts out with both hands to stay on top and get the finish.
Okay, now we're going to work a double leg where we get trapped down on the mat. We can't get up to our feet right away because our opponent has stopped us. And we're going to work some finishes from that. The first technique we're going to work is a lift and flare. So I'm going to walk to my opponent. When he touches me, I clear the control point across and I shoot, but I get trapped right down here in this position. So I'm in a double leg position down on the mat. My trail leg is up, my hips are in tight like they should be, and I'm in this position. I'm coming right behind the knees. From here, I'm just going to change levels a little bit. As you can see, I'm not completely up in the air here. I'm kind of squatted down, but at the same time, I'm in good position. From here, I'm going to raise my opponent up and flare the far knee here. I'm going to lift him up and flare the knee in this position. I'm going to hit a double leg. He's going to stop me. Here. From this position, my trail leg has come up. I'm going to squat a little bit down here. Then I'm going to raise my opponent up and flare.
Here's an example of a slow-level flow with Olympic medalist and world champion Sergey Small of Belarus. As he traps the far knee and lifts his opponent or flows him across, his opponent tries a body lock to counter. He then circles toward the head, threatening back exposure in order to get his opponent to belly out and get the takedown. Here's another example of this low-level flare with world bronze medalist Kirk Trost of the United States.
The second technique I'm going to do from here is if he counters that technique where I lift and I can't reach the far side, right? He touches, I clear, hit my double leg, I'm trapped down here, and he has this leg wide. This time I'm going to step to the outside here, pull right at the knee, and cut him down this way. Going to cut across my opponent. Here, hit. I've been stopped down here. My trail leg is up. I can't flare him here, so I'm going to step up to the outside, pull the far knee, and cut around the corner. Cut across.
Notice the head pressure Kirk Trost uses as he steps up and pulls the far knee to cut across on this double leg finish. Notice how Steve Knight has to re-step to maintain control as he pressures with his head and pulls the far knee. He then steps over both of his opponent's legs to complete the finish. Here's another example of this cut-across finish with Dan Mayo of Foxcatcher.
This time I'm going to take the control point to the outside and then across my body to hit this double leg. I walk in, he touches, clear it to the outside, across my body, I've created an angle, I'm half man, hit my low level double leg right here. From this position, knee to the inside, my trail leg's going to come up because it's done all it can do. It wants to come up quick, and I'm going to trip this outside leg. Here, keep my weight going forward. I'm going to feel that right away. Walk in, he touches, drag, hit, trip, hit. As I hit my outside trip, I want to get right behind the heel. I don't want to try to trip too high. From this position here, trail leg comes up immediately. I'm setting it down. My momentum continues forward. And I spread wide so I can't be rolled through. The next trip we're going to do is a little inside trip. And actually this works better on taller opponents. That as you try to lift and flare, you can't get them off the mat. They start to hook around you in a body lock position, and you want to trip inside in this situation. I hit here, with the legs up. I'm trying to lift, but this guy just gets taller on me and taller. So what I'm going to do this time is take my inside knee, switch this knee down, and trip inside. Here. When you find yourself wrestling a taller opponent, this technique becomes very effective. Low level double leg. Here, I'm trying to lift, but he gets tall and I can't get him up. This knee's already in tight. I put the outside knee down and I just trip inside. Even if he's looking for a body lock, get him around my stomach and lock. I want to hit inside here. Again, I just set the foot down, trip over it, to this position. Again, I want my arms wide so that he can't roll me through.
This is an excellent example of this outside trip finish for this double leg with crook throws. Booker Bedford uses the same outside trip finish from a higher level. Here we see an inside trip finish on this double from the feet with Greg Olinsky.
The next finish we're going to work off the double leg situation is when your opponent gets wrapped around your waist. I'm going to hit a good double leg. He's going to get good reaction, get his hips back, but at the same time, he's going to block around my waist, and this is a technique that you would use. I walk to my opponent. When he touches, again, I can take the control point down, to the outside, across my body, or over the back. This time I'm going to take my control point down, hit a little drag, hit my double leg. In this position. When I get here, he immediately gets his hips back in this position and wraps around my waist here. The first thing that I need to do is get my hips back underneath me. So I'm actually going to post my hand, slide my inside knee up here in this position. Now, I've gotten my hips in pretty good position where if he were to back away from me now, let him back away. I'm in good, solid position here. That's very important. Don't try to do this technique if you're leaning forward at all. So if he has me extended, I post this hand, slide my inside knee up, so I'm back in good position. He's still around my waist. What I'm going to do here is take this hand, hook his wrist. I don't really want to hook his elbow because he has a tendency to be able to slide it out. If I just do this, he can slide it out. If I grab his wrist and he tries to pull it out, he won't get it out. From this position now, I'm going to take an outside step with this knee here. From there, I'm just rolling over his shoulder that I have trapped. And from this position, I'm going to keep him here, get my points, and then hip heights towards his head. All right, again, I'm in a double leg position here. I'm down here. I immediately, because he sprawled, did a good job. When I get my hips back under me, I post the hand. My inside knee will slide to this position. From there, I'm going to trap the wrist here. I'm going to take a little outside step, put his shoulder down right here. Now I'm in a crab walk position. I don't really want to stay on my butt. From here, I'm coming up, so I'm holding my opponent down here. Another thing that is very important in this technique situation is when I get him down, let's try this, in this position here. He's back, but when I get him back here, I come up on my feet. This hand is posting down. Don't hip heist and turn towards his legs. If I do that, watch his hips and I'll try to chase him. And that's what'll happen. Seen a lot of good takedowns lost in this position right here. Anytime I'm here in this situation, I hip heist towards his head, this way. Now watch and see if he can get away by flipping his hips when I do this. I catch him on his back. Again, do not roll towards his hips or his feet. You'll end up in that position. When you get your opponent in this situation, I'm going to hip heist, basic skill, but I'm going to hip heist towards his head, not towards his hips. Here. From here now I'm going to bring this hand over the top. This time I'm going to take the control point down again, hit a double leg. I've stopped in this position right here, and this guy is really a tough man and cleans on me tough, and at the same time he reaches over with the other hand and grabs one of my ankles. From this position right here, what I'm going to do is set on his hand, right there. I want him to try to pull his hand out. I have all the weight on his hand here. I don't have to reach back and grab this with either hand because I don't want to lose track of these hips. If I were to let go here and try to reach back, grab this, his hips are free now and he can move to the outside and get around me. So I want to make sure that I keep control of his hips. At the same time, he can grab me with both hands on my ankles. It doesn't make any difference. From this position, he's done a good job of countering. I immediately set on one of them. So it's trapped. I don't want to let go of the hips here. I want to keep them. From this position now, again, I'm going to go back in this direction. Here. I'm posted. I'm in a crab walk, hip heist position, one of our basic skills. Again, I don't hip heist towards the hips. I hip heist towards his head. Here, in this position. We'll do it one more time. Partner's coming over, grabbing my ankles after I've gotten in a double leg position. I immediately set on it. I just set right on it, put all my weight on that hand. I continue the motion back. I'm in a crab walk position here, and I'm going to hip heist towards his head. And as I do this, I want him to try to turn. Ready? Go. I'm going to catch him right here. Got to have those quick hips. You got to work that basic skill on that hip heist every day.
In this variation, Zeke Jones' Romanian opponent is locked in the crotch as Zeke tries to control the arm and dump him back. He immediately hip heists to the head, but his opponent rolls free. Back exposure for Zeke, 0 for his opponent.
We talked about lifting in our basic skills. Lifting can be a very effective finish for a double leg takedown, as can be seen from the following examples.
Here are several examples of a low-level finish from a high crotch. Take the time to analyze each one carefully from start to finish. You'll find that the athletes exhibit a great deal of patience in setting up, looking for just the right finish from this low-level position.
The next takedown series we're going to work on, and technique from our feet, is our duck under series. There's some basic things that you need to know about a duck under. First of all, anytime your opponent's elbows come away from his body, you can hit a duck under. Again, we have to go back to our basic skills on when to do an inside step and when to do an outside step. If my opponent's stationary or moving away from me, I have to do an inside step. If my opponent's pushing on me, it's better to do an outside step. And we're going to do the duck under with 2 or 3 of these different situations. The number one and most important thing in all these takedown situations is for me to stay in good position. Our first basic skill. The first technique I'm going to work on with a duck under is off of wrist control. As I get this wrist control, my opponent's going to back away from me. So if he's backing away, I'm going to have to use an inside step. The second thing that's very important off this duck under is for me to keep my head up. If my eyes look down to the mat, he'll be able to put a front headlock on me, snap me down, and spin me. So when I walk to my opponent and he posts, I clear the wrists, I'm going to inside step here, hit my duck under. But as I hit it, I'm looking up. From that position there, I keep my head back here tight so he can't get his arm, and I finish in this position. If he were to try to bring his hand between his body and mine, I have it trapped with my head. The second thing is, as I do this duck under, if I step to the outside and he steps away from me, that creates too much space between my hips and his. Here. And he'll be able to get this arm back and catch me here. So I'm going to step right between the legs on my inside step. Walk to him, turn it, hit my duck in this position right here. Now I'm going to come up and finish in here tight, hitting the duck under off of wrist control. The next duck under we're going to do is when he controls my wrist. Now this is exactly the same. He's got my wrist and he's stationary or he's moving back to me. So I'm going to actually feed him my hand. When I do that, I'm going to clear that out and create space between his elbow and his side. Remember, anytime his elbow is away from his side, I can hit a duck under. From this position right here, I'm going to cuff the head, inside step, pop here. Now when I do this, again, my head is up tight. I now pick up the outside leg. My hips are in tight. I'm going to pop my hips, take my opponent down. Finish with a lift. All these duck unders carry some basic truths to them. One, I don't look down to the mat. If I do a duck under and my face is looking towards the mat, he's in perfect position to front headlock me and snap me down. Here. But if I do the technique correctly and keep my head up with his elbow away from his side and I get here, now if he tries to front headlock me, he can't do it. I'm in good position. Good solid stance. Remember, don't look down to the mat or he'll snap you down. So on any of these various duck unders, make sure you keep your head and eyes up.
Here are some examples of duck unders when your opponent has wrist control as well as some finishes. The next duck under we're going to do is off an underhook position.
And this time off the underhook position, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to push into him and get him to lean back on me a little bit. When I do that, off this duck under, he'll be pushing on me so I can use an outside step. I'm going to come in, control my partner's head, pull it to the side, which creates space between his elbow and his side. From there, I'm going to go to my underhook, and I'm going to push on my opponent. As he starts to push back, I raise my elbow up, right here. I have my underhook cupped on his shoulder. From this position, I'm going to outside step to right here. From there, I now push off, finish in this position here, and finish with my double leg finishes or lift. The next series I'm going to do off this duck under and off an underhook is actually duck the opposite side. But same type of situation. Remember, the two things that are important on the duck under, if his elbow comes away from his body, you can do a duck under on that side. And the second thing is make sure your eyes don't look at the mat. This time I'm going to cuff his head, underhook the far side. But he's doing a good job of, he gets his head back on this side, he's got his elbow down, but look on this side now. He's created a little space there. So I'm going to go to a little elbow control, and now I'm going to outside step again. His head's on me, and I'm just going to pop in this position. Again, my head is up, it's tied on his shoulder, and I'm coming up into this position.
Here are some excellent examples of an underhook to a duck under with the finishes.
The next duck under we're going to do is when my opponent has done a good job and he's fought into a position where he has an underhook on me, which puts me in an overhook position. The key to this situation is when he gets his underhook, for me to take this arm right here, I'm going to come back hard near the elbow and try to bring this down. As I do that, as I bring this arm down, it'll raise this side. So he's got his underhook. When I bring this down, it brings the opposite arm up. That's when I'm going to pull this down and hit a duck under to the opposite side. Then go to one of my double leg finishes. So again, he gets an underhook. I'm going to pressure down. As I pressure down, I'm going to hit a duck under to the opposite side of the underhook. Go to your finish.
Joe Melchiori ducks to the opposite side as his opponent attempts to underhook him.
You can actually do an underhook or a duck under off an open position where I don't have contact with my partner. And if you're quick, this is the way you set it up. You may only want to teach this to your quick wrestlers. I'm going to post on his arm, just like that. I'm posting, bringing my hand back. When I do that, anytime I reach to my opponent, 90% of the time they want to reach back. Once he starts to reach for me, here, I'm immediately, as I bring my hand back, outside step, and hitting the duck under. Again, this will be an outside step, and the reason is this. When I post on his shoulder and he reaches, his weight will come forward. Remember, if there's pressure back into me, I can outside step. So I post, bring my hand back, but when he reaches, I'm immediately outside stepping, coming back in this position. If you can, one of the good finishes in this position here, I'm going to outside step, post here. When I bring my hand back but create space here, I hit my duck here, and now I'm going to step to the far side of my opponent right here. And as I lift, I'm taking my opponent straight to his back. One more time. I'm in here. When he reaches, my hand comes back. I outside step, but I'm coming clear across my opponent here. Taking the leg or a bear hug situation.
Mike then outdoor steps inside then out and is duck to a double from the open stance. John Joe continues his outside step and drive in order to finish this duck under from an open position. Douglas uses his duck under from an open position to take his opponent down.
Duck under from a head and bicep situation is off in motion. And again, I can do this with an outside step or inside step. As I secure a head and bicep tie-up where I'm pushing on the arm, I'm pushing on it here, I have the head tight. When he pushes back with this arm, now I'm going to, because he's leaning into me, I outside step right here. Again, I have this trapped, a lot of space between my hips and his hips, so I'm immediately going to follow it up and come around my opponent here. Continuing to take him down. This time as I do a head and wrist tie-up, I'm going to walk to him, but he's got my wrist in this position. Head and bicep, or head and wrist. This time, he's kind of moving away from me a little bit, so this time I inside step, hit my duck. Remember, this leg's done all it's going to do. Don't stay here where your opponent can step over you. Immediately bring it up into this position. Head and wrist, head and bicep. Head and bicep one more time. I've got a good tie up here. I'm using my hook, pushing on his bicep. When he's leaning back, I outside step. Head is up. I immediately finish with a double leg or a lift. Next duck under we're going to work off of is off an elbow and a wrist control. So I'm going to walk to my opponent. When he posts me off here, I immediately grab his elbow. Again, I need to clear this hand off right here. So what I'm going to do is roll my shoulder and pop that hand off. Remember, once I get it off, he can't pull it back. I keep my elbow bent. I'm hooked just above his. He has my wrist here. Now I'm going to create some space here where I'm stepping and hitting my duck under. Remember, this leg comes up immediately. I'm in a double leg position. The next thing you can do off this same situation, I walk to him, he posts. Again, he's posting off here, so I roll my shoulder and pop the hand off. Once I've popped it off, now I'm going to actually raise up here, and as I raise this arm, that leg will go back some. When it goes back, I'll hit a duck under, back to the other side.
From the wrist and elbow control, Joe Melchior executes a duck under on Sergey Small. Terry Kolat uses double elbow control to set up this duck under. Steve Knight uses his opponent's pressure into him to set up this duck to the opposite side with an outside step. Bogolinski snaps his opponent down to head control. When his opponent begins to pressure up, he then executes this technique. As his opponent defends his high crotch attempt, Pete Roselli secures elbow control and uses this duck under as a secondary attack to finish the takedown. Here's an example of a duck under when your opponent has a front headlock on you with Rob Cole.
Technique we're going to work on now is a fireman's carry. What you have to keep in mind with a fireman's carry is that there's several different types. I don't necessarily advocate that one is better than the other, but I do believe the fireman's carry we're going to work on today is safer than some of the others that you can work on. The fireman's carry that I'm going to do, I have to have an overhook in this position here. I have to be over the arm. It doesn't make any difference if I start with an inside control and then take it to this position. But I have to end up in this position. Again, when I hit my fireman's carry, my knee is going to go right between his legs, here. So it looks almost identical to the high crotch, only this time I have an arm. Couple things I have to think about. One, I don't want this elbow pointed up. If I point this elbow up, he's able to rotate his wrist and get his arm out, right? So as I hook just on his tricep here, just above his elbow, I pinch this arm down. I want to trap his arm in there. From that position, his foot is right between my legs, right here. Fireman's carry to both knees, right here. From this position right here, I'm going to take a little step with my knee to get his weight shifting this way. I have his arm trapped. I'm pulling down on it. My head is tied up against the back of his shoulder. From this position, now I'm going to raise him up here. I don't really like to keep hold of the leg. And the reason I don't like to do that, a leg rider or a guy that has a good figure four can tie this arm up and look for a stalemate situation. So I'm not going to worry about keeping a hold of this leg. As I take the step, his weight goes forward. Now I'm taking him to this position here. Notice that I'm flat with both feet able to drive here. I'm not on my knees. I'm all the way down on my side. My head is tied on his chest. I'm still got his arm trapped here so that he can't turn his wrist and get his arm out. From this position, he can't turn to his left. If he tries to turn that way, I have this arm and he can't go. The only direction he can turn is into me. And as he starts to turn, my head comes up. Another hip heist, basic skill. A variation of this fireman's carry is the same, but in this situation, I'm going to be on this side of it. And I'm going to tie this arm up. But he feels pretty comfortable because he has me blocked off with his head in this situation. From here, I'm going to step with this foot, go to both knees, right here. When I get in this position, I'm trapping his arm here, catching it with my elbow, taking a step with my knee, and trapping him right here. When he tries to turn into me again, catching him for the pick. Fireman's carry to both knees.
Here's an example of this fireman's carry with world champion Grigor Richa of Belarus. John Smith drops both knees in his fireman's carry, then continues to control his opponent's arm and leg to hold him on his back for exposure. Former world champion Sergey Small cartwheels over in this fireman's carry, then bridges back into his opponent to hold him there for back exposure. He then comes back over, continues to control the bottom leg, goes to the head, and drives him over for the pin.
The next technique we're going to do is a near arm and far leg, and it's the same situation that can occur off a fireman's carry situation. So that's why we put it in here. Some people call this an outside fireman's, but basically it's a near arm, this situation here, and a far leg. And I can do this off inside control, or I can have his arm hooked. But as I walk to my opponent and he posts off on me, I'm going to come inside here. I'm going to actually circle to my left a little bit in a square stance and bring this leg up. As I do that, I bring that leg up there, and now my knee goes down. I'm outside step because I had him coming to me a little bit, and I hit this position right here. In this position right here, most wrestlers are going to try to sprawl on you. As he does that, I'm going to take a step with this far knee and setting down. Again, ending up in the fireman's position. I want my hips down. I want my head on his chest, and when he turns back into me, I want to come up and finish in this pin position. A lot of times in this near arm far leg situation, you end up with just a single leg because he can get his arm out. But it's a good way to set your opponent up. I'm going to take a step to the side. When the leg comes forward, I'm going to hit a near arm, far leg. Head is up. Again, I'm pinching this thing down tight, and actually it works better if your opponent starts to sprawl. Now I take my step, set my opponent down.
World and Olympic champion Arsen Fadzao starts with a near arm far leg carry, goes to a single, then back to the near arm far leg to complete the takedown. Former world champion and Olympic medalist Zeke Jones uses a head and bicep tie to set up this near arm far leg carry. Here's another example of a near arm far leg carry with Rob Eider.
Two other situations that you're able to hit the fireman's carry or the near arm far leg is out of a double bicep tie-up and a front headlock situation from standing. So I'm going to do the double bicep first. As I walk to my opponent and we're hand fighting in here and he has inside control, I'm immediately going to roll my hands to the inside here. One, from this position right here, he's pushing on me. He has hands on me. I can outside step, do a near arm and far leg, or I can double knee drop and do a fireman's carry from this position. Again, trapping the arm, taking the step, finishing the technique. The other situation that you end up and you can do a fireman's carry out of, or a near arm far leg, is out of a front headlock. Say I have an underhook in this position here, my pull-up buries his head, and I snap him to a front headlock here. I change to a front headlock position, and he's starting to back out, and I'm going to release this hand here. As I release and he starts to pop his head up, I'm now going to drop underneath and hit my fireman's carry. He's buried his head down in here. I snap to a front headlock, but now I'm going to allow his head to sneak out. And I'm squeezing him, pulling him down. As I do that, I loosen up. He pulls his head out, raises up, and then you're going to follow back underneath and finish with a fireman's carry.
Arsen Fadzaev uses bicep control to set up this new arm far leg carry. He then goes into a quick tilt for back exposure. Rob Biter uses double bicep control to set up this fireman's carry. Here's an example of fireman's carry from front headlock position with Rob Biter.
The last fireman's carry that we're going to work on is what I call a head outside fireman's. And what makes this different, I'm in an over and under position. I'm going to have the arm trapped the same way, but rather than bringing my head to the inside, I'm going to keep it on the outside. So I'm in an over and under position here. From this position, right here, I've got his arm trapped with my elbow. Again, I have my hand, my thumb in. I trap his tricep right here. I'm going to bring this leg forward a little bit. I'm just going to take a little step backwards. As that leg comes forward, I now change levels, shoot, take this leg down right here. Keeping the arm tight, raising up on the leg. From right here, don't get in a hurry. Just keep it right here, and he'll try to turn out of it. Make sure you get your points. Right here. Then you can slide up to the over and under. This technique is similar to a shoulder throw on top and a fireman's carry down on the leg. I'm in this position. I need to bring this leg forward. If it's back, I can't do this technique. And I do that by just taking a little step back. I bring that leg back. I immediately change levels. That puts all the weight on this foot. As I do that, I now shoot this hand below the knee, down on the calf here, pulling on the arm, closing on my head in this tripod position. My right shoulder is heavy on his right shoulder, right here, pinning him to the mat. We call that head outside fireman's.
Rob Biter posts his opponent to the mat on his takedown attempt and then goes right into this outside fireman's carry. Here's a variation of this head outside carry with Tim Vanning.
The next set of takedowns we're going to work on are off of arm drags or arm drag situations. First one we're going to do is an arm drag double leg. I sincerely believe this, that if any time he puts his hands on me, I should be able to hit an arm drag. And very simply I mean this, as I walk into my opponent and he touches me in any place. When he touches me there, I have the opportunity, because this is my control point. I can take this down and hit an arm drag. I can take it to the outside and hit an arm drag. But anytime he touches me, whether it's my head, posting here, on my arm, I have the opportunity to take that control point and drag it. So the first technique we're going to do off of this is an arm drag double leg. I'm going to walk to him. As soon as he touches me, I'm going to chop this arm down, catch it, inside step, and hit my double leg.
Here's an example of this arm drag to a double leg takedown with Olympian David Hole of Canada.
The second technique we're going to work on is an arm drag and a trip. It'll be the same situation, only this time I'll do it off a different drag. I'll walk to him. When he posts, now I'm going to knock this to the outside, hit my arm drag here, and I'm going to step inside here. It's very important that I trip down below his knee. He touches, I hit my arm drag, and step here. I'm going to plant this foot. As I come down now, my momentum's going forward, and I'm posting so that I can't get rolled through. The arm drag creates an angle for me to do this technique. The next technique we're going to work on is an arm drag to a single leg. And I'm going to feed him my wrist. When he controls my wrist, I'm going to drag him and attack a single leg. As I walk to my partner, I'm feeding my wrist. As I do that, now I'm going to bring this hand across and down because I want to plant some weight on this foot. As I do that, I'm now going to arm drag and hit my single leg here. Right? Walk, I'm going to feed my opponent the wrist. As I do, I'm going to bring this down and across my body. As I do, I'm going to drag it, outside step to my single leg. Again, going up, working my single leg finishes.
World silver medalist Chris Wilson of Canada uses an arm drag to set up his single to a double attempt that goes out of bounds.
Technique, I'm going to hit a fake fireman's carry that'll set up my arm drag. As I walk to my opponent, I'm going to get inside control. When I reach for this leg here, the leg will go back. I immediately switch right up to this position, hit my arm drag. This hand will actually push this across. Once I've created an angle, I can now continue through with the double leg, or actually arm drag him all the way down. Fake to this position.
Arsen Fadzayev fakes to the leg and then arm drags to set up this takedown sequence. There are several more examples of the arm drag as a takedown.
The next set of takedown techniques that we work on will be ankle picks and knee picks. And the concept is the same for both of them. That's why I'm going to put them together. You'll be able to actually hit them out of both or the same tie-ups. Same setups, same contacts. You'll do the same thing with control points. The concept is this. If I want to take and attack this ankle, what I have to do is put weight on that ankle. So the way I do that is by moving his head directly over the point of attack. So if I'm going to do an ankle pick to this ankle, and I'm going to do it out of a head and bicep tie-up right here where I'm pushing on this, from right here I have to take this head and put it over that ankle. And there's a couple ways I can do that. One, I can just snap it to this point and shuck it. And once I get to this point right here, I want his head below my head. This is very important because I don't want him to be able to shuck me off. From here, now I'm going to change levels by bringing this head down and ankle picking. Try to avoid getting your head below your opponent's head. If that's to occur, if I get him in good position here, put this over here, but I end up coming below his head here, he has the ability to shut me off and get an easy takedown. So anytime you do an ankle pick or a knee pick, remember to keep your head above your opponent's head. Take his weight or your control point, put it over the ankle or the knee that you want to attack.
Here are several examples, excellent examples of this head-to-heel ankle pick.
The next ankle pick we're going to do is off an underhook. I've secured an underhook off my opponent by moving his head or possibly walking in, and he's getting wrist control. I'm going to feed him my wrist. As he's doing that, I'm now going to bring this hand down and force an underhook into this position. Remember the concept. Put the weight over the ankle or the heel you want to attack. If I want to attack this one out of an underhook, I'm going to bring him around here. Now I'm going to take this shoulder, put it right over the ankle I want to attack. From this position, I'm going to step to the attack point, chuck it off, catch my opponent, put him on his back. Underhook, ankle pick. If I want to attack this ankle, I'm just going to bring this ankle to me here, put this shoulder and the weight on it right here so he can't pick it up. From there, now I'm going to pick it up and chuck it off.
Cubas Aldo Martinez uses an underhook to ankle pick to win a world championship in 1990. Here's a couple more examples of this underhook to ankle pick with Kenny Mundy, Olympic and world champion.
The next technique for an ankle pick is going to be off a 2-on-1 contact. I'm going to walk to my opponent. When he puts hands on me, I go to my 2-on-1 here. If I want to attack the far ankle, I'm going to take a step back. When that ankle comes up, I take my control point over the ankle I want to attack, right here. Now all the weight's on this and he can't pick his ankle up. From there, I'm going to pick it and set him on his back. If I want to pick the near ankle off the 2-on-1, I get in this position right here. All the weight is down. Lock this. Pick it up.
Olympic and world champion Mohammad Kadartsev of Russia uses a 2-on-1 to set up this ankle pick.
The next ankle pick we're going to do is off a front headlock. Walking to my opponent, he's burying his head. I'm going to snap his head down, go to a front headlock here. If I want to attack one of these ankles, say I want to attack the far ankle there, I'm going to bring it up by stepping back. Now I've put all the weight on this far ankle, and now I'm going to change levels, pick this ankle, and look for the pin.
Here's a couple examples of this front headlock to an ankle pick with former world champion and Olympic medalist Zeke Jones of the USA.
All the techniques that we use for an ankle pick are the same for a knee pick. So a guy with short arms, I've gotten to where I like the knee picks actually better than the ankle picks. For the simple fact, the technique is exactly the same for getting the position, and I don't have to reach as far. For example, head and bicep tie up, knee pick. I'm going to take this head, put it over this knee and attack it. Couple ways to do it. One, I can bring it to me. As I do that, I now put all the weight over it. But rather than reaching to the ankle, I just reach to the knee and run through it. Right? Head and bicep tie up. If that knee's back and I don't want to step backwards, what I'll do is just drive right over it in this position. Run through it here. As I hook the knee, this hand is just a hook, and I just post right here. But remember, in this position, it's very important for me to keep my head above my opponent's head, keeping this in that. The next technique I can do a knee pick is off an underhook. Again, I'm going to take a step back, bring this leg forward, take this shoulder, put it over the knee. Once I get in a position where I block the knee, I have the underhook, I take this over here, I'm hooking, now I'm going to shuck this off as I continue on.
2-on-1.
Knee pick, now I'm going to do a knee pick off the 2-on-1 tie-up. Walk to him when he touches here, again, I want that far leg, so I'm going to take a step back. Now I'm going to take my contact point over, lock the knee. The next technique I'm going to do is a knee pick off of elbow control. And all I'm going to do is walk to my opponent. When he tries to block me off on the inside, I'm going to take his elbow across my body, the contact point across my body to the far knee. I walk to him, he's posting here. I'm now just going to take this elbow, I'm going to take a little step back, right here. Once I have contact on this elbow, I take it right over the knee I want to attack and take him down. A lot of times you'll be in here fighting for position, and I can very easily just pass this by in this position here. Once I pass it by, I'm going to take this elbow to the far knee, run it over, take him down. Do it to the other side. Here, he fights for inside position when his hand rolls like it did there. We're fighting back and forth. I'm going to take this across, take the knee. Remember, all you have to do an ankle pick or a knee pick is take your contact point, whether it's a wrist, an elbow, a head, or a shoulder, put it directly over the point you want to attack, and you'll be able to do ankle picks and knee picks.
Here's a textbook example of an underhook to a knee pick with Olympic and world champion Bruce Baumgartner of the United States. Here's another excellent example of this underhook to a knee pick with former world champion Melvin Douglas. Here we see an example of an overhook to a knee pick with Bruce Baumgartner. Over and under position, here's a variation of this knee pick with Alejandro Puerto, Olympic champion from Cuba.